All right. What's up, everybody? How you doing out there? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Thinker St. James. Happy Thanksgiving to all my American friends. Coming up tomorrow, of course, but tonight I wanted to jump on and just kind of chop up about the news of the day here a little bit, see what's going on in the world of MMA. It's a little bit of a slow time. We don't have an event this weekend, of course, because of the holiday, I would suspect. So, you know, there's always something going on in MMA. Of course, the Conor news just dropped recently. I was thinking about making a video about it just because I think that I might have a decent angle to come at it from, which is basically what I had said on the podcast on Monday. There's a lot of political opportunism going on based on the Conor McGregor situation. So that might be an interesting way to cover it. I saw that the homie, MMA-based goddess, just made a video about the situation, going over some of the fan reaction, and she had highlighted a clip from the Tate brothers on there. Of course, they're about as politically opportunistic as you can get, or at least close to it, I would say. So I think that there's probably some way to cover that if I want to, but we'll see. I haven't decided on that one yet. But as I said, there's always something going on. So I just got MMA fighting up here. If anybody hangs out in the chat, I will gladly listen to your hot takes and tell you how dumb they are. Beeb, what's going on? There you go. Beeb starting it off. Conor is guilty. Conor is not guilty. This is the interesting distinction about all of this. This was a civil case that Conor was found liable in. So no guilt assessed to him because this was not a criminal, not criminal proceedings here. The court, or at least I guess the police in Ireland, did not think at the time that there was enough evidence to pursue actual criminal charges, which I think is the biggest miscarriage of justice in this whole thing. That's what I said on the podcast as well, that the fact that this was not criminally investigated to begin with is really the biggest fault in the whole matter. Because we can't assess guilt one way or another. That was kind of what the takeaway that I took from watching Base Goddess's video, was that, you know, there's a lot of opinions on both sides of the aisle. A lot. I mean, and again, when you add in the political aspect of it, then it goes so far both ways, right? I mean, you've got the Tate people and that whole crowd on one side. You've got the feminist movement in Ireland parading and protesting in the streets, using it to their political gain. So we don't know the truth is really the end of the story with all of that. And I think that that's the most unfortunate aspect of the whole thing. So, you know, I can't say one way or another here what the actual truth is, or really make a full-on assessment. All we know are the basic details. And in any one of these kinds of cases, as I said as well on the podcast, this reminds me a lot of the Alex Pereira allegations and the way that that was presented, in that there are two sides to every story. The truth is somewhere in the middle, and we just can't know. We weren't there. Conor has a whole bunch of people on his side of the equation saying that, they know what they saw, and it all looked consensual there. We have people on the other side saying that, you stand with all victims or perceived victims. You stand with all accusers, I guess. So it's very much a multifaceted and very nuanced situation going on with this, and one that we are not going to know the truth of, most especially because it did not go to criminal proceedings. So that, I think, is very unfortunate. This is a miscarriage of justice first and foremost, and no amount of money is going to make it better. There's no winner in this situation. It's a terrible thing on all sides of the coin. Chris Weidman also did get paid his show money. Okay, that's good to hear, I guess. I mean, he did show up. He deserves that. Better than they did for Wonder Boy, right? Sarah Toby, I was just going to say that I was going to be on a little bit earlier, but I got caught up watching Fight Show. If you guys are not subscribed to Checkmate MMA, make sure you go over and support the homies over there. They got a good show. They just had the Bellator, not Bellator, BKFC fighter who was on there just today, which was really cool. One of John Jones's camp. So very, cool guests and valuable insight going on over on Fight Show. Make sure that you're checking that out. Exactly. 3 sides to every story. This one, that one, and the truth, for sure. And this one, I mean, like, and when it's something as weighty, as something as with such significant repercussions as as these allegations have, that, you can't really make a full-on assessment without knowing all of those details. And even if the cops did investigate it, you might not necessarily know the truth even then. So it's tough to weigh in on. But I did want to see a little bit about what was being said about it, because like I said that Based Goddess had made a video about it, and I thought that was very interesting, the way that she covered it, going over the fan reactions and stuff, because everybody's kind of falling somewhere on the spectrum in the multitude of different takes you can have about it. Wonder Boy did get paid after all the news spreading, but not his full show money, but some of it. Okay, I mean, he got a percentage of it. Well, if they paid Chris Weidman his full show money, then Wonder Boy certainly should have gotten his full show money too. Because he was not wrong to not take a fight with a dude who missed weight. That is established in the parameters going into the fight, and he was well within his rights, Yes, Pat Brady. His name was escaping me there for a second, but Pat Brady was the fighter that they had on the show today. And it was very cool to hear him talking, gave some insights as to what camp is like with John Jones. Very interesting stuff. It was good hang. And, I know Garrett was saying that he was going to send me the link. I got bumped for Pat Brady. Worthy bumping. I think that is completely appropriate. So good on you guys for having him on. That was really cool. But, I've been saying, I was going to try to see if any of you guys were going to be around today. I'm not really set up for it on this version of the stream. Like, if I'm going through OBS, it's one way. If I'm going through Restream, it's another way. But I definitely want to have you guys on. And, of course, Sarah, I want to hear more from you because, you're very quiet on the show often. And it's, to me, very interesting to have a woman's perspective on a lot of what's going on in MMA and a lot about the subjects that I've been covering recently. Obviously, the Conor one is a big one. And we had talked a little bit about John Jones when I was on Fight Show. And I would love to hear a woman's perspective about how John Jones is viewed from a female MMA fan. You know what I mean? Because it's like, to me, because, so the thing that I have to push back on when it comes to how Garrett from Fight Show sees the John Jones situation, he makes a fine point. Look, we're all young at one point. You give a young person a lot of money, they're bound to make mistakes. I agree with that entirely. However, what I would counter that with is kind of what I said on Fight Show when I was on, is just that, like, there's levels to that, though. You know what I mean? Like, if I had that much money at that age, I still wouldn't be laying hands on a woman. If I had that much money at that age, I probably still would not be pulling hit and runs or shooting guns off around town. I mean, that maybe the guns maybe a little bit different, but like I don't know, or maybe even the hit and runs a little bit different. I don't know, but like when it comes to the like some of the more egregious things, in my opinion, at least with John Jones, it crosses the line as to being young and dumb versus, just kind of being a bad guy. But that's why I'd like to hear multiple perspectives. Thanks to everybody who's hanging out today. Sarah, Beeb, John Dong, what's going on, brother? How are you? Do I have my board up? I don't get to use my own soundboard very often because we have the awesome full-on soundboard over at, there it is. We got the full-on soundboard over at Vitz King's place, but I am here right now, so sirens for everybody. Chris doesn't have show, and when he just gets his guaranteed well, yeah, but that's what I'm saying though. I think that if Wonder Boy only got a proportion of his show money, then that's still bullshit to me, because he showed up ready to fight and his opponent did not. You know what I mean? Yeah, his opponent showed up, but not in the condition that was agreed upon. So I don't know. Maybe there's some nuance in that too. Maybe it's a spectrum in all of this. It's a it's a nuanced conversation around the board. Need to have you on again? Yeah, I'd love to come back on. You don't do shit? Okay, cool. Yeah, no, Sarah, we'll definitely set that up. Yeah, it was. I don't know if you guys came as a package deal, but if you're down to come on sometime, I would absolutely love to have you on. Would we have a more in-depth discussion? Let you get some talking in there. You got a couple of guys who have a lot to say. In a good way. I'm the same way. Obviously, I never shut the fuck up. How do you think we need to start calling Aljamain Alja Prelim because he isn't on the main card? John Dong, that is one of the most bullshit fucking things I have seen in a long time. If you're not aware of what John is talking about there, Aljamain Sterling and Movsar Evloev has gotten moved from the main card of 310 to the prelims when that is supposedly a number one contender fight. I mean, that is ridiculous, man. The fact that it got bumped for Kron Gracie versus Bryce Mitchell is the crazier part of that. I think it was Badger. Shout out to MMA Honey Badger. That's the homie for real. But saying that, like, what the fuck does Kron Gracie have on Dana White? Like, there's got to be something there, right? Because, I mean, like, there's no fucking way. There's no way that it is appropriate for a former champion in Aljo, a top 5 guy in Movsar, right? Movsar is like number, 4? Something like that. He's got to be somewhere in there. Where is he at right now? He's number 5. Okay, so yeah, top 5. You got a top 5 guy going up against a former champion, and that gets bumped from main card for Bryce, who I'm a fan of Bryce Mitchell, don't get me wrong. As I've said in the past, I actually had started working on a whole video about Bryce Mitchell just because I find him very interesting as a person. Great guy. Some kind of strange beliefs, in my opinion. But a very solid individual, if you know about him. Like, Bryce Mitchell is a genuinely good... You talk about good people in MMA, the heroes and villains of MMA. Like, I think that some of his ideas are slightly dangerous for different reasons, perhaps. And there's a discussion that can be had about that. But as a human being, Bryce Mitchell is a quality human being. For him, but, aside from that, though, I mean, come on. He's had his ups and downs lately, so to speak. And for him to be going up against Kron fucking Gracie, who, the boot scoot boogie king over here, it's just, that's so fucking wild, man. That is wild as hell. That is absolutely crazy. You'll save your opinion on John for the show? Yeah, absolutely. Please do. I'd like to think it's a pretty agreeable opinion. Yeah, well, all right. Then there you go. There's the teaser, everybody. Sarah Toby is going to save her opinion about John Jones for this channel. So keep an eye out. Thoughts on Nick Diaz apparently on meth? Oh, well, I mean, Beeb, myself and Chase actually did a full-on breakdown of the, at least up until that point, what the information of the time was. I should probably get that out. You know, I'm not really doing too much for Thanksgiving tomorrow. I might just hang out and edit tomorrow, get the Nick Diaz video out, since a couple people have asked about it. But Nick has been going through some tough times, it would seem like, and it seems like it's been going on for a little bit longer than people have known about. Now it's just really coming to a head. Of course, the video came out, and then after that, his fight got canceled as well against Vicente Luque. So there do seem to be a lot of negative things going on in Nick Diaz's life right now. The only reason that I haven't gotten the video out quicker was because I was hoping that there would be some confirmation or like a conclusion to get to with that video. But I think it's kind of like the Rose Namajunas video where it's like I just kind of have to leave it open-ended and just add updates when we can. I'm sure that me and Chase will be covering it on the podcast again soon if any new information does come out. But I'll try to get something together tomorrow, and if I can, you know, depending on what the schedule ends up looking like on this, our day of Thanksgiving, being thankful for this amazing nation that we live in. Yeah, it's crazy how a former champion versus an undefeated fighter is on the prelims. Yeah, that's another good point about it. I didn't even mention that. Yeah, Movsar being undefeated as well. Fucking nuts. I mean, Chase would say, so like, Chase has this theory that like, oh, it's to put asses in seats. You know, and I'm like, dude, if I'm going to UFC Tampa, right? That card is pretty weak, in my opinion. If my boy who I'm going with if it wasn't his first time going to a live event, I might actually have just been like, nah, I'll save the money and just watch it with Vitz King. But we're going and it's going to be great. But like those tickets for decent seats were ridiculously expensive. And I'm pretty sure that it's almost sold out, if not sold out at this point. There might still be rafter seats. So if you're telling me that you need to move Aljo and Movsar to prelims to get asses in seats, it just don't track to me. Plus, the UFC does not give a fuck if people are there early. You know what I'm saying? That card 310 is not so stacked that you could not have had Bryce Mitchell and Kron Gracie on the prelims, have that as the featured prelim, and still just been fine. You know what I mean? The whole situation with that is just ridiculous, in my opinion. And that like line of thinking, like, you know, shout out to Chase. I mean, obviously the homie can, you know, it's a fine justification, and I'm not trying to rag on Chase for having it, but I'm just saying, like, I don't think that it really jives, because the organization, as long as those tickets are sold, the UFC is happy. You know what I mean? And it's not like they took the fight off. No, they took the fight off of fucking UFC Tampa. That's the fight that got taken off. The fight that I was supposed to see. The fight that I paid money to go see. Ian Gary versus Joaquin Buckley. That got fucking changed. Now I got to go see fucking Colby Covington and rip my hair out. At least I'll have somebody to root against. I wonder if it's because Dana doesn't like Aljo because he tends to be in more boring fights. That might have something to do with it, yeah. But I mean, Kron Gracie is more boring than Aljo. So Aljo made that video about how he was being pressured into fights, or being pressured into fighting Sean when he wasn't ready. Yeah, I feel you on that. Those kinds of things do play a part in the conversation for sure. So I'm sure that there is some validity to that line of thinking, John. But even still, even with that all being as it is, because like, so okay, what are the possible outcomes from this fight, right? The Movsar and Aljo fight. Since we're talking about it, I can bring that up. Letting you guys be the guide of this one since we're just hanging today. So no. Okay, these are all the 307 stuff in there. I was like, wait a second, that fight got pulled? What? But nah, this is yeah, why are they still talking about all of this? About the fight that got pulled from 307. That's weird. It's like nobody's actually covering this piece of information. Shout out to bjpenn.com for actually covering it. But so what are the possible outcomes of this fight, right? You've got Movsar winning, getting his shot, or theoretically Aljo winning, and then what? The organization does not give him his title shot? That's potentially what could happen if that's really how they're feeling about all of this, right? If that's really, if it's really about the organization sticking it to Aljo because they're pissed off at the way that he was talking about the organization when he was champion, I mean, you still get that from this fight, even if it's on main card. Excuse me. So I don't see why, because I mean, really, if you're saying that Aljo is the reason that they're changing it around, theoretically here in this hypothetical we're talking about, if Aljo's the reason, then you still have undefeated Movsar Evloev. So why does he get short shrift? I just, the whole thing, no real reason makes logical sense to me. But if it is because they want to disrespect Aljo in that way, then I guess there is some logic in that. We'll just have to see what ends up happening post-fight. Because if Movsar does end up winning this fight and they don't give him the title shot, then maybe they just don't really care too much about either of these guys because both of them have the tendency to be slightly boring. That could also be the case. After the KO Bryce received, maybe the UFC is trying to help him out. I know Kron isn't the bee's knees, but he does carry the Gracie name. Beeb, that's the only real reason I can think of that they would have Kron on the main card, is specifically because of the Gracie name. But if you've ever seen Kron Gracie fight, which I have, I saw him fight live in Tampa, where I'm going to go see this upcoming event. Saw him get his ass beat by the homie Cub Swanson, one of my favorite fighters of all time. So, if that's what it is, it's like, I still just don't see it. And I mean, giving Bryce a little bit of a leg up, because I mean, this is like the easiest one-sided fight as far as, from Bryce's perspective. I mean, like, Bryce Mitchell is going to go out here and most likely ragdoll Kron, I would say. Even if, like, he does go to the ground, I still think he'll be able to navigate it. And he has the advantage on the feet all day long. So if that's the case, I mean, I don't think it really, like, brings Bryce back into the fold the way that, Bryce needs a couple of wins to come back after that knockout, because he was out. You know what I mean? Like, forever going to be remembered for that knockout, sadly. I mean, hopefully it's not going to be, like, defining his legacy. Like I said, I'm a fan of Bryce. Like, I want Bryce to succeed. I want him to overcome that. But for right now, at least for the immediate future, even if he wins this fight, he's still going to be remembered for getting sent to the Shadow Realm in a big way. So, I don't know. I just don't see, I just, either way, because again, if the Bryce Mitchell fight was on the undercard, if it was on the prelims, then it still happens. I just don't get why they changed the order. Neither fight is canceled. Both fights are taking place. One makes more sense to have on the main card than the other. Yet they switch it. It's just it seems arbitrary to me. So, I mean, thinking it through, talking it out like that, maybe it really is because they don't like Aljamain. Maybe it is because they think it's a more boring fight and just want it earlier on, so that when people are paying for the pay-per-view, they're not upset. That might be it. That really might be it. So there you go. Maybe we came to a conclusion. Chandler is in denial that the strikes were to the back of the head, trying to say they weren't. You call BS on that? Rick, I absolutely agree with you 10,000% after rewatching it. I myself thought that they were not to the back of the head in the moment, only because fucking Keith Peterson was standing right over him. Keith Peterson was on top of the action watching these back of the head strikes happen in real time and did not say anything. He didn't say shit. You can go back to the VOD. Go back to the VOD of that event where me and Vitzking are watching it. And Vitzking's like, yo, those are back of the head strikes. And I'm like, no, they can't be, dude. The referee is standing there right there looking at it. I was wrong. Keith Peterson was very wrong. Keith Peterson kind of on the referee shit list at the moment when it comes to that kind of stuff, because Keith Peterson has been racking up some really questionable shit, like over the time, like over so many months. You know what I mean? Like, I give all respect and credit to referees. I know the job is hard. I know that it's split-second decisions, of course. Some are still better than others, though. You know what I mean? Like, that's just really how I look at it. It's like, it's a hard job. Some people are better at the hard job than others. And Keith Peterson is starting to get a little shaky. Just saying. Although, shout out to him for his weight loss, because bro was on that, whatever that Ozempic shit, you know? That's speculation. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe he was just training really hard. But Keith Peterson's been slimming down, so shout out to him for that at least. Bryce Flat Earth Mitchell versus Kron Flat Earth Gracie. The battle of the Flat Earthers. Is Kron a Flat Earther too? Shit, dude, I didn't know that. Okay. Is he really? Kron Gracie says the earth is flat. Yo, all right, John Dong. John Dong coming through with some factual information right here. I'm much appreciated for that. And it's not always just how badly you want to fight me and Vitz, bro. Sometimes Bryce Mitchell does the damn thing. I mean, sometimes Bryce Mitchell. Sometimes Rick Allen does the damn thing in the chat. I appreciate you for that. Still can get it in, though. How about that, though? I did not know that he believes that the earth is flat. Let's see. Kron Gracie. Yeah, I believe the earth is flat. Gracie said to Bloody Elbow. It is what it is. People will always try to say something. I'm not trying to promote the flat earth and try to push it. All right, so he's not exactly like out here evangelizing for flat earth, but he doesn't even really want to talk about it. Ultimately, no one really knows. That's the thing that's funny to me, is that that element of flat earth. Ultimately, no one really knows. You mean not all of the NASA scientists who have been to space and like photographed the entire planet from all angles? And I mean, like, we have 3D mapping of the planet. Whatever. Anyway, I'm not going to get all deep into debunking flat earth. I'm sure that there are plenty of other channels that can do that a lot better than myself. But suffice to say, I think that scientists have come to a pretty solid conclusion on the shape of the earth. Anyway, but he has some doubt there. So there you go. Okay. Until you get a rocket ship and can fly up and really see, but I just have some doubts on some things. Bro, they have rockets. They have rockets, my guy. Brother, there are rocket ships. They exist. Elon Musk is like a huge right-wing guy now. He's got rocket ships. What if Elon says it? Maybe if Elon says it, because I know that there's like a weird crossover between flat earth and like right-wing stuff. So maybe that's what needs to happen. Maybe Elon Musk needs to go up and debunk flat earth. Maybe Elon won't do it because he's so tight with the right wing now. Aha, there's your conspiracy theory. All right, I'm done. There can be only one flat earther in the UFC. Bro, time shall tell. Time shall tell. Now we've got a real fight on our hands. There's clout on the line now. Clout within the flat earth community. Who has the best chance of beating Ilya? Movsar, Aljo, or Diego? Diego, easily to me, in my opinion. Diego is the most well-rounded of those three. Again, in my opinion, I would say Diego is the most well-rounded, and I think that he will recognize. Like, I don't think that Diego will let himself be in a firefight for longer than he needs to be in a firefight, which I think is one of his like good strengths. He's got good fight IQ. You don't want to get into a firefight with Ilya. Of course, all it takes is one shot from Ilya, so anyone is susceptible. Any one of those guys is susceptible. I mean, Ilya does seem to be unbeatable at the moment. But, yeah, of those three, I would say Diego personally. What do y'all think? Let me know what you guys think about that. I'd be curious. Anakin, what's going on, brother? Kron getting a ranked guy after being 0-2 makes no sense. Yeah, Kron, bro. Again, Kron Gracie has to have something on UFC brass, or just the fact that it's the name. If it's the name alone, like, yeah, you know, you can ride off of the name, but like, how many times do you have to have like really lackluster performances before that does not hold weight anymore? I don't know. Thoughts on Yoel Romero? What did he say about Jesus? Thoughts on Yoel Romero sleeping that power slapper in a boxing match? Yeah, that was in Dirty Boxing. Actually, the fight show folks were talking about that today as well. Yoel Romero, still dangerous no matter where he goes or what he does. Not surprised at all that he would beat a dude out of fucking power slap. Come on, man. Power slap is not athletes. Power slap is desperate guys and women, often coming off of hard times in life or possibly still going through them. In fact, when it comes to power slap, like, part of me is morbidly curious. I don't know if I'd watch like too many full power slap events, but there was one day, it was random. It was like middle of the week. Power slap happens in like a fucking middle of a Tuesday at like noon. Or at least this one event did. So I just happened to be in a spot where I could be on my phone for a little while, and I saw in the Discord, shout out to all the Discord homies, they were watching it. So I was like, you know what? It's on Rumble. I can stream it on my phone while I was waiting to do what I had to do. So I watched a little bit of it. It certainly is exactly as advertised. So I don't really have too much of an interest in watching full-on events of it. But the one thing that would interest me when it comes to power slap is the actual, like, tough thing that they do. Like, they have, like, that power slap, like, Road to Power Slap or whatever it's called, like the Ultimate Fighter for power slap. That I might have a slight interest in watching because, A, how do you train for power slap? I mean, do you just smack yourself in the face to try to toughen your jaw up? Doesn't seem like a great strategy, but okay. I want to know what they're doing on that show. And then B, I want to know more about these people because I guarantee you a lot of them are just like people coming off of or still being in really down periods of their life. Kind of a little bit desperate, I would say. Power slap is not a sport. I don't know. Anyway, so to answer your question, yes. Am I surprised at all by Yoel Romero beating a power slapper in a boxing match? No, I am certainly not. Although, I do want to know, that's actually a good question while we're talking about it. What is the Dirty Boxing rule set? Because I know that they're different. Oh, we got a whole lot of rules. Okay. They're fighting above the dring. Oh, they call their boxing ring the dring, and it's trademarked. Don't you be calling your fighting surface the dring, folks. That's trademarked. You can't use that. The dring. Oh my god. Clean water bucket. Yeah, I'm just trying to see what the actual, like, what are the differences? Because like maybe the AI overview will be a little bit better here. I saw it was in bullet points. They're fighting with 5-ounce gloves. That's all right. 18-foot ring, fine. Ground and pound. Conditional ground and pound is allowed, but the striking fighter must remain on both feet. So you have to like physically bend over and like do like the doubled over to ground and pound in Dirty Boxing. Elbows are permitted. Okay. That I actually kind of like. All hand strikes. All hand strikes are allowed. Oh. So you can do like clubbing shots, I guess. I don't know. I kind of like this rule set, not going to lie. Follow-up punches. Fighters who score a knockdown can use follow-up ground and pound punches. Yes. I don't know. Dude, to be perfectly honest, like, as far as boxing goes, I am not, like, super angry at this rule set. I kind of like it. Too bad that it's taking place in, like, some fucking shady warehouse. I live in Florida. I could have gone down to Miami to go see Dirty Boxing if they had done any kind of promotion for it whatsoever. I don't know how anybody even knew that it was happening. I found out about it the same way y'all did when I heard that Yoel Romero knocked a dude out. So, anyway. I'd be embarrassed to talk about it if I thought the earth was flat too. Yeah. I mean, a lot of these people are not, though. A lot of these people are like really like adamant about talking about it. And I think that that's why it's like as prevalent as it is that people like, I think that it gives people like this kind of club to be a part of, you know? That's a lot of stuff, like when it comes to a lot of different things. Politics is definitely that way. Like a lot of times when you have like partisan politics, you've got, you know, these camps that people form around it. And so it's like, you know, man, it's really like I get to be with my people, and then like I have an enemy in those people, and we can like fucking talk about how much we don't like the enemy and like that kind of shit. Like tribalism is what they call that. Diego versus Ilya would be a lovely fight. A lovely fight, yes. It would be a fucking banger. Yeah, that's the fight that I'm hoping for. It's even more crazy. They put Aljo versus. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier. Anakin Aljo versus Mofsar on the prelims is fucking wild, and we don't know why is really the other part of it. 2016 Romero versus Hamzat and DDP would be crazy. Yeah. The sport moves too quickly, man. That's why I never get into those like fantasy arguments with people. Oh, you know, fucking Fedor versus, fucking John Jones. Fedor versus, whoever, you know, Tom Aspinall. I mean, like, the fantasy argument to me is like arbitrary nonsense because you can't ever know. Like, there's no good answer to it. It's like if you think one way and I think another way, then we're going to have to agree to disagree. If you go strictly off of stats, maybe, but then the sport itself moves quickly as far as like technique and stuff goes. We are like, always keep in mind when you have those kind of discussions amongst your peers and friends that we are always in the best version of the sport at any given time currently. Like, it's only going to get better. Fighters are only going to get more skilled. The training gets better. Like, the sport evolves very like to the time, and now that MMA is being taken like legitimately seriously like by people and by the broader public, it will continue to get better. New fighters coming out all the time, you know, new fighters entering the organization, them training new fighters at the PI, like that little girl that fought on the Contender Series, who is probably going to be a fucking beast in her time when she is ready. 20 years old, coming in there kicking ass. Already had some nice highlights from her amateur fights and earlier fights before the Contender Series at 20. So, anyway. We will see Tony Ferguson in Power Slap after he's 0-5 in BKFC. Bro, I hope not. God, do I hope not. Tony needs to be kept well away from combat sports in general right now. Really what needs to happen with Tony is that he needs to like his family needs to have an intervention with him, I think. Cause like that, so, you know, I don't know how to find it within the video because I would bring up Beige Frequency's video and I'll at least bring it up on screen real quick. If you've not seen this video, yeah, I think it's this one. Should we be worried about Tony Ferguson? Beige Frequency is a great channel on YouTube. And he talks about all of the troubles that Tony was going through in his personal life outside of fighting. Obviously, we all know how bad his life has become in the ring, in the cage. But outside of it, it's been pretty bad as well. Or it had been pretty bad as well. Tony is definitely showing early signs of CTE, sometimes better than others as far as what information is out there. But like the information that had come out about like, you know, at one time his wife had a restraining order against him and he was hearing voices, and there's a lot of crazy stuff with Tony. So I really just want to see him like get the help that he needs and not ever fight again for his own safety and the safety of the people around him. But, you know, I know Tony is fun to meme on because he's a kind of a quirky dude you know, just naturally. But like, if we're being serious about it, Tony like really needs to have like people around him who care about him, like guiding his path a little bit. Do you also want to see Yuri send Hill to the Shadow Realm as much as you do? I mean, look, when it comes to Jamal Hill, I mean, like, he's funny in his delusionalness, in his delusion, but I don't necessarily like have any ill will towards him. So if he can beat Yuri, then cool, I mean, I think that you have to have a certain level of confident delusion to be a fighter in the first place. So he takes that to a little bit of an extreme, but yeah, I don't really like prey on his downfall. He seems like an okay guy, although there was that one situation with him too. I wonder if any information came out about that later on. Like, did y'all hear about that with Jamal Hill and his brother a while back? Yeah, this. Police report alleges Jamal Hill sucker punched his brother and knocked out a tooth in some dispute that they had. Very weird. Yeah, the Kentwood Police Department provided the report to MMA Fighting following the former UFC light heavyweight champion's arrest on November 27th. This is of last year. Yeah. According to the report, Hill and his brother made an arrangement or an agreement for James, I guess his brother is James, and his wife to clean Jamal's house for $300. They were fighting over $300, which had been left vacant and without electricity, causing food and rot to spoil. Why was the house vacant? I'm saying I remember reading this back. I remember at the time thinking there's a lot of weird information in this, but yeah, the argument began around 7 p.m. local time about the house being cleaned and other family matters. Yeah, so there was more going on here. According to the alleged victim, Hill took off his shirt and got in his face before allegedly punching his brother in the face, knocking him to the ground. The report also states, according to James, he stood back up when his wife tried to stand between the two. Jamal reached around James's wife and punched James in the face once again, causing him to fall and become dazed. Yo, Jamal Hill, imagine fucking your brother is a UFC fighter and pissing him off to the point of getting your ass kicked by him. That's probably not great. I don't know if his brother James over here trains, but either way, you don't want Jamal Hill laying hands on you. Lucky that his wife didn't get hurt in this scuffle here. The officer notes that James had a tooth knocked out during the alleged dispute, and James' face had significant swelling. So, there you go. I don't think that there was any, like, follow-up on this, aside from Jamal Hill himself. I guess we could listen to that if you care to listen to it, but let's hear what Jamal Hill had to say about his brother. Well, where's the actual video, man? There we go.
It was just a lot of running and scrambling. We got to see almost an impression of Antonio Brown. I don't know if y'all remember back whenever Antonio Brown played against the was it the Cleveland Browns? I believe he was returning a punt and he jumped up and gave him the old hadia.
So maybe this will change your impression of Jamal Hill if we find out why he was arrested for beating up his brother.
What's going on, Sweet Dreams Nation? I'm back with another reaction. It's been a crazy week. We got the hell of a card happening with UFC Austin this weekend. And we got some drama within that card with Bobby Green situation. So I'm going to cover it. And before I get into that, there's been a lot of reports out today with the situation that happened while I was back home in Michigan visiting for the holidays.
Camera got weird for a second there.
I will just say this. At this time, it is an open case. I've been advised not to speak on it, which...
Oh, well then what the fuck is the point of the video?
Not to speak on it. I just can't wait for the truth to be told in court, and I will wait for that day, and I look forward to that day.
I wonder if it's already gone to court.
Yeah, the people who know me and know my character and truly, truly rock with me and know who I am, hold on to that and stay true to that. And yeah, that's all I'm gonna say on that. And back on track with the Bobby Green.
Okay, well then I guess the people that rock with him will rock with him, and obviously that's not going to be his brother or his brother's wife. So anyway, yeah. So there's that. But I don't know. I don't know whatever happened with that. I don't know if it actually ended up going to court or not. Maybe it got settled outside of court. You agree? You want to see Yuri send Hill to the Shadow Realm? I mean, like if you sure. Look, I like Yuri. I think that my issue with that. So okay, if we're breaking that fight down, my issue with Yuri is that Yuri does not change. Yuri does not evolve as a fighter. He does not update the way that he fights. He said after this last fight that now it's finally time that he's going to come around and start like changing a little bit of like his style so that it's a little bit more like appropriate for the level of fighter that he's fighting. But I mean, like, the dude does not check leg kicks. The dude does not defend. He always has his hands very, very low. The takedown defense is like not always there. I mean, sometimes, most of the time it is, but like, I mean, it's, I don't know, man. It's just, he like Yuri just, it feels like the high level competition is just pulling away from the pack, and he's like letting himself get let behind. If he loses this fight to Jamal Hill, I would say that that would probably be the nail in the coffin as far as thinking that Yuri is like an elite level fighter anymore. Which sucks because that's fucking former champion. You know what I mean? Like, that's, you know, you don't want to say that about somebody who has been at the top of the heap. But the time when he was the champ was a little bit of a flux period for the division. And if he can't keep up with the new crop of guys that are obviously doing the right things, or at least have the tools to beat him, then that's really all that it's going to come down to, I would say, right? I mean, that's the way I see it, at least. You can see Yuri getting chinned. His head movement is bad. Exactly. His head movement is bad, and his defense is not great because he's so focused on landing his cool ninja shit that he just allows himself to get tagged. And then sometimes that tagging is very, very bad. Look, after the last time that he fought Alex Pereira, that being the second time that he fought Alex Pereira, I said, I want to see something different out of Yuri Prochazka in this fight. Going into that fight, that's what I had said. I said, if Yuri fights the same way that he fought in the first fight, it's going to be a repeat of the first fight. Sadly, that is what happened. Prediction confirmed. So, if he is going to continue to fight the same way that people have obviously figured out, then I don't see what you can really take away from that aside from he's going to get lapped. Rakic almost had Yuri in several moments. I mean, Rakic maybe, yeah, like a couple. Rakic is a good striker, so there's always going to be like those moments where adversity is going to like appear to be pretty heavy, but I don't know if he really had him in any of those exchanges. But Rakic is. Like, I think I feel bad for Rakic. Rakic to me is almost like a discount Yuri. Like, he's a solid striker who is not quite elite level at this point, at this current time. Any of that can change. Like, always. What I always say about this stuff. All you got to do is prove me wrong. But I think now, after Carlos Ulberg won his fight, I would think that he's probably going to be fighting Rakic, or maybe the loser of Yuri and Jamal Hill. So we'll see what happens. Cowboy Cerrone coming back and going to go on a huge title run. It's going to be epic. Yeah. I'll hold my breath for that one. Discount Yuri. I mean, look, when the shoe fits, right? I'm just going off of what I see. And that's not a disrespect, really. Shit, dude. I would be pretty happy if I had discount Yuri skills. You know what I mean? Like, he's still a high-level fighter, but there are levels to this game. It's one of those deals where it's like, yeah, you can be an amazing fighter for sure, but you're fighting in the best promotion on the planet. Like, either one of those guys with the striking style that they have could probably be pretty successful elsewhere. Go over to Bellator. Although, of course, as we talked about on the podcast, we know Bellator ain't booking fights too often lately. So that whole situation has been nuts. Actually, I think they talk about it on this little thing here. Yeah, Yeah, we got the PFL championships coming up, by the way. I was thinking about possibly trying to jump on for that. That's on this Friday. But yeah, there we go. Yeah, this is what I was talking about here. Thoughts on the lack of Bellator fights? Well, I mean, really, it ain't great. As we had said, it's not looking good. I mean, this is an issue that's been going on for a while. In fact, Gegard Mousasi, I referenced this on the podcast. Wanted to see if this is the interview I was talking about.
Big news.
Of course, I don't want to like go into the whole thing.
Let us say hello to the dream.
Hold on 1 second here.
Friend one,
See if I can find it real quick. But
I don't know. They don't even want to talk to me. Or
Yeah.
any of the.
So this is, I'll cue this up real quick and intro it just briefly here, but this is what I had mentioned on the podcast. Gegard Mousasi, this is going back 6 months now. This is right around the time that the PFL Bellator merger happened. And he was talking about how him, Diego Lima, and I think that there was one other, and Chris Cyborg was the other one, I believe. None of them could get booked for fights. That's 6 months ago. Now, you've got all of Bellator's high-level fighters. You got the Pitbull, a Patricio Pitbull. You've got Patchy Mix. You've got Higo, all saying that they can't get booked. So this situation is not great.
I don't know. They don't even want to talk to me.
Talking
or
about
any
PFL.
of the fighters.
Okay, so let's talk about this because so I got some information as well, and I'm going to try to figure this out. You were a Bellator fighter. Bellator acquired by PFL. Your issue now, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you're not getting a fight from PFL. They're not putting you in the Bellator series or the PFL fight series. Is that accurate?
Before he answers, keep in mind, this is still when we didn't know if PFL and Bellator were going to be operating separately, I believe. I think that this was it might have been announced that they were going to keep them separate, but it wasn't known if it was going to eventually merge or if it was going to remain separate permanently. And I don't even know if we really know that now, even, if it's going to ever full on become one promotion or not. Because PFL, of course, has their tournament series and Bellator has regular UFC style promotion.
Yeah, that's accurate. I think I have the same problem as Cyborg and Douglas Lima. I spoke to Douglas Lima.
I thought he was talking about Diego. He was talking about Douglas Lima.
Same issue.
And what are they telling you or your management as far as why they're not giving you a fight?
The funny part is they don't even want to talk to me. They say
they won't pick up the
You've
phone.
You've not talked to anyone in Bellator. You've not talked to Mike Hogan. You've not talked to people there.
Yeah, I talked to Mike Hogan because he's the only one who still talks a little bit. But basically, they feel like I make too much money.
Right.
And Cyborg also, and those fighters too. But
so that's basically confirming what we had said on the podcast. That was Chase's idea. His thought was that these guys are just getting paid too much and they couldn't pay him. It's like, well, where's all that Saudi Arabian money that made this acquisition possible? I don't know. How far do you think Zhang goes after going 2-0? I think that he's got plenty of potential. I think that Zhang Min Yang is a fucking beast, and I think that they would really, really like to have a fighter from that region of the world in the higher echelons of the rankings and stuff like that. So I would suspect they're probably going to try to hotshot him. This is how I think the trajectory will go for Zhang Min Yang. I think they're going to try to hotshot him. I think that they're going to probably fly him a little too close to the sun. I think he's going to take a loss. Hopefully he learns from that loss and then goes on a pretty nice run after that. Because he's already got a decent amount of fights, right? I mean, I think that he's one of those guys that has he's 16-4 or some shit. Like he's coming into the promotion with a lot of fights under his belt, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, he's 18-6. So I mean, he's got a lot of experience to begin with. But I mean, on a 2-fight win streak right now after a whole bunch of other wins. What's his full-on record looking like? Yeah, dude, Jesus Christ. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 fight win streak coming into the organization. That is pretty heavy. I would suspect that, yeah, they give him probably some competition that's a little bit, like maybe not this next fight, but the fight afterwards. I'd say that they'll probably give him a fight that's a little bit higher than he might be ready for. But maybe he is already ready with being on that kind of a streak. I mean, I don't know what the competition level has looked like for some of these other guys. You know, a lot of regional fighters and names that I wouldn't recognize off the top of my head. But, yeah, I would say that he gets a decent level fight coming up, might get checked in that fight, but then comes back after that, puts on some other good shows. I think he's going to be a big star for China. Looking forward to Nate versus Duho Choi. Hell yeah, dude. I love Duho Choi. You hope Nate sleeps him badly? Ah, come on, man. Duho Choi is the fucking man. He's a Hall of Famer right there. Him versus Cub Swanson is a fight of distinction. So I ride with Duho Choi at all times. But I do like Nate the Train, though. Nate the Train's awesome. Look at this bicep! Wouldn't mind Zhang versus Alonzo Menifield. That's a good fight. I like that fight. That might be the kind of fight that I'm talking about, though, where it might be a little bit past the level that he is at currently, but it could very well be the right fight for him. I mean, again, if he's the real deal, it's not only the record, it's the fact that all of these first round knockouts, I mean, look at this shit. Fucking 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 in a row. First round knockouts. That, of course, speaks volumes. However, we had a guy named Robelis de Spain, hometown hero, if you're living where I live, come into the organization, demolishing the competition. Of course, he was not as decorated in mixed martial arts as Zhang Minyang is. But Robelis de Spain's hype train was derailed pretty quickly. I would suspect, especially at light heavyweight, that we're going to need to see him get tested on the ground. However, a couple wins by rear naked choke. And a win by armbar. So, I mean, you know, maybe he does have a little bit on the ground. I would suspect a lot of these probably came from him dropping his opponent and then just finding the opening on the ground to get the finish that way. But either way, I like that fight, though. I think that him versus Menifield is an all right fight. Randy Brown versus Brian Battle will be a banger. Goddamn right it will be. Brian Battle. Speak very highly about Brian Battle on this channel. Did a whole video about Brian Battle on this very channel. About how Angelosa really took the easy way out in his fight. But yeah, Brian Battle is just, I mean, he's on a hot streak, man. Well, I just saw today, it was like, he said something like, what did he say? He said something like ruining people's dreams is like the greatest feeling in the world or something. He said something really, really savage. It might have been on the MMA Hour. Trying to see. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe I can't find it right now. But he said something along the lines of, yeah, you know, beating a guy's ass and crushing his hopes and dreams in front of his family and friends, there's no feeling like it in the world. I was like, this dude is a fucking animal. But my thing with Brian Battle is that Brian Battle, he's the type of gangster that I appreciate, because he don't start shit, but he finishes shit. It's like, he didn't start the shit in Paris. He wasn't booing himself. Fucking crowd in Paris is booing him after he got a really, really solid win. He's handling his fucking business. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it's like Brian Battle is like, he's a G, dude. I am 100% on board. Plus, I've been watching Brian Battle since The Ultimate Fighter. So, yeah, I am a fan. And I think that he has a very fine chance of beating Randy Brown, and I am a Randy Brown fan as well, which hurts to say. It's one of those fights, I think I even said it on the podcast, where I'm like, man, it's one of those fights that I really wish that both guys could win, because I like them both. Yo, Checkmate, what's going on? Got the Checkmate crew in the building. What up, what up, what up? Oh yeah, there you go. So Sarah, that was I think I shared it. Yeah, if you go on my Instagram, I think I shared it in my stories. That's where I saw it. Yeah. Okay, see? Shout out to Checkmate, always on top of it. If Brian Battle gets a finish, I think his next fight should be a ranked fighter. Abso-fucking-lutely it should be. Abso-fucking-lutely. Yeah. Brian Battle has been like, it sucks that he took like that early loss, because it's like obviously having the O is always going to be better than not having it. But the tear that he has been on and the skill level that he is showing, that's really what it comes down to for me. It's not just the fact that he's winning his fights. It's the fight IQ that he is showing when he is in there. Because you watch the way that this guy fights, he is great in the clinch. Like, whenever he is clinched up, he is making very smart decisions. His hands are powerful. He said it himself after Angelosa took the fucking easy way out. He was like, once these guys feel my power, they don't want to be in here anymore. And for once, a fighter was actually talking some real shit. That was a no-cap situation. This dude was talking some real shit. So I'm telling you, man, I think that the Brian Battle really is like next up. Do I think that he's champion material? That's going to be one of those things that it's really going to have to time will tell, because he's fighting welterweight. And right now, welterweight is getting like, it's on the verge of being one of the most competitive divisions. Like I've always said, at least in the current moment, that the small guys are like the most competitive right now, flyweight and bantamweight, but welterweight is creeping on a come up in a real way, especially after 310, which we'll be talking about on Monday on Last Week's Fights, my podcast with Chase Parton right here on the channel. Check your local listings. Yeah, exactly. Protest is another one that's in there. Michael Morales. I mean, like the current crop of new guys at welterweight are fucking grizzly bears, bro. Like, these guys are serious problems. Oh yeah, no, absolutely, Checkmate. Glad to be by, man. I was glad I caught it. Always happy to hang out with you guys and show some support. It was awesome that you had Brady on the show. That was really cool. But yeah, I mean, you've got guys like Carlos Prates in there. You got Michael Morales in there. Shavkat, Ian Gary, both undefeated, going for the number one contender spot right now on the upcoming card, 310. I mean, if you got Bilal as champion, I know a lot of people are not super hot on Bilal. They don't like Bilal very much. I hate to break it to you. The guy knows how to win his fucking fights. So, yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, like welterweight is like, it's right at the cusp of being like, fucking Joaquin Buckley. After Joaquin Buckley retires Colby Covington in Tampa, this fucking division's going to be all kinds of stacked, even more so than it already is. So I'm telling you. So I say all of that to say, do I think Brian Battle is going to be a champ? It's tough to say. There's too many variables right now in the division. Does he have a shot? I would say so. Does he deserve a ranking? Abso-fucking-lutely he deserves a ranking. Who's number 15 right now in the rankings at welterweight? MVP? There you go. Right there. Make that fight. Look at these fucking fighters in general in here. You're going to have Colby Covington dropping off the face of the planet, so he'll probably go down to like 9th or so. Joaquin Buckley will take that spot. Fucking Brian Battle versus Gilbert Burns. Brian Battle versus Wonder Boy. I mean, all of those are fine fights to make based on the way that he has been fighting, and a couple of those guys that I just named, sad to say, can probably drop off. So there you go. You're such a Brian Battle nut hugger. Randy is going to club and sub your boy. Hey, look, I'm a fan of Randy Brown too, though. I'm a fan of Randy Brown too. In fact, I would say the same thing about Randy Brown. If he wins this fight, he deserves a ranking. Or at least a ranked opponent. Randy Brown's been around for a fucking minute. Like, I said that on the podcast a while ago, how, like, Randy Brown's one of those guys that's been fighting for so long, but, like, I always had this, like, impression in my mind that he's a newer fighter. It's like, no, the guy's been around for quite a while, so he's only getting better. Garimbo might also be ranked if he beats Luque. Yeah, he will be ranked if he beats Luque. God, yeah, Luque hanging on to 14. Like, okay, you know what I mean? I would think that even if he beat, like, again, Vicente Luque, another guy that can probably drop off the rankings. And I'm not saying it because these are bad fighters. Of course they're not bad fighters. Fucking amazing fighters. But we're talking about, you compare a Carlos Prates to a Vicente Luque. Compare Joaquin Buckley. Well, Joaquin Buckley. Compare Joaquin Buckley to a Vicente Luque. They already fought, right? I mean, you know what I'm saying? It's like all of these guys. Fucking Ian Gary. Jack Della. Can't wait for him to come back. It's just we're in a transitional time for all of the sport, really, but like it happens to different divisions at different times. And right now, welterweight is really in prime seating for that transitional time to be taking place. You already just had the belt move from Leon Edwards to Bilal. You've got Shavkat and Ian Gary getting ready to get the number one contender spot. This division's going to be having a lot of shakeups coming forward. And I mean, I feel very nervous for guys like Jeff Neal. Wonder Boy, you know, fan favorite guys like Wonder Boy. Jeff Neal, maybe not as much of a fan favorite, but I'm a fan. There's really very few guys in welterweight that I'm not a fan of, except for Colby. Prades versus Rude Boy was close but fell through. I mean, I would have felt bad for Randy on that one because Carlos Prates is the fucking real deal, bro. That dude is real deal Holyfield right there. We got at least 4 more years of Colby. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure we do. Look, he's not going to go away altogether. What happens if he wins? Yeah, if Colby wins, I mean, he clings to the conversation, but I do believe that he's going to be getting steamrolled by some of these other guys coming up. He's one of the guys that's just going to get washed out as the division continues to change, in my opinion. He has proven time and time again that he is just not championship caliber. And that goes beyond my feelings about him and his character and all that bullshit. That's just purely based off of what you see in the cage. Because if you get outclassed by Leon Edwards for 5 rounds, and then Leon Edwards gets outclassed by Bilal for 4, I mean, MMA math is bullshit, but that does seem to stand up in my opinion. Just saying. Randy KOing Muslim aged well for Randy. Yeah, after last weekend, it sure did. Talk about a fucking head kick, though. Good Lord. I didn't realize that Muslim Salikov had 4 leading up to last weekend and make it 5 spinning head kick knockouts. What a beast. What an amazing 40-year-old man able to still do that. Gives old guys like me something to believe in, I guess. But yeah, I mean, look, like, when I talk about the transitional element of the sport, you've got the most competitive divisions right here. These two, flyweight and bantamweight, and a bunch of guys that are getting really nice wins that are about to be in the rankings, and some dudes who are already in the rankings climbing their way up higher. Guys like Asu Almabayev at flyweight. I'm keeping my eye on him for real. I think he's a guy that's going under the radar a lot with people, but he has been looking really, really sharp in his fights. Dudes like CJ, Charles Johnson, who's been around forever, racking up some wins, fighting all the fucking time. One of the most active fighters I can think of. You had Muhammad Mokaev. All he's going to need to do is get 2 or 3 wins outside of the organization to come back. Guaranteed. Guarantee you that we'll see Muhammad Mokaev back in the UFC at some point. Now, of course, flyweight has a big problem at top with Alexandre Pantoja, but we've got Kai Asakura coming in. You know, where these divisional shakeups are happening in real time. You're wondering who's next for Leon and for Usman? Yeah, that's a good question, actually. Who would be next for Leon? Probably, I would say the Leon fight should be the loser of Shavkat and Ian Gary. That would make sense to me. But also, you have Jack Della Maddalena, who is injured but has been making quite a name for himself. A lot of people are really, really hot on Jack Della. So, I mean, you can't count him out, although he's been inactive due to the, the surgeries and whatnot. So maybe Leon versus Jack Della might make sense. I think that would probably make sense, unless they're just waiting for Leon for, to fight whoever ends up winning out of Bilal versus the winner of Shavkat and Ian Gary. But that's going to be a lot of inactivity for Leon. And then as far as Kamaru Usman goes, Kamaru needs to fight down in the rankings, in my opinion, at this point. I say that full well, knowing that Kamaru is one of the most dominant champions that we have had in this sport and one of the most active champions that we've had in this sport. So I am not trying to take anything away from Kamaru Usman. I think he did himself a disservice by taking the Khamzat fight. So he's got the loss there. I think that people are starting to be a little bit colored by their perception of him based on that. He's also doing that, his little podcast thing now. People are saying, oh, maybe he's not ever coming back even. It's like he's taking a lot of time off, reassessing at this point, because that fight was a while ago. And that was his last fight, right? Fairly certain that the fight with Khamzat was. Yeah. So there you go. 2 losses to Leon. Of course, both title fights. And then the loss to Khamzat. Of course, that was at middleweight. But, still a loss. I would say that it would be appropriate for him to fight maybe the winner of Joaquin Buckley and Colby Covington. And I know that no one wants to see him versus Colby again, but that's just where we're at. If you have these guys that have been around for a long time, stalling up the top of the division, maybe him versus Sean Brady makes sense. Usman is still elite level, but if he wants to get the title again, he needs to rack up some wins. Exactly. Yes. That I think is the best way to put it, Anakin. Shout out to you for an accurate assessment. But also one thing to note is that he is 37. 34 is usually the magic number when it comes to being at the top of your prime. 37 might be a little bit past that. We'll see if he still has the ability to be as good as he once was. I had heard at one point that his knees might be not so great anymore. And the way that he fights, if his knees are not so great anymore, that's going to be a big, big, big problem. So we'll see. We will see about that. But like I said, going back to this, I mean, I would say him versus even a little bit farther down the rankings, if we're being completely honest, I would be okay with him versus Gilbert. I know it's like a lot of these guys he's already beaten. So it's hard there. But if you want to see him versus someone new, I'd say Sean Brady. I mean, it's still top 5, so keeps him well in the conversation if they're trying to allow him to get back to the belt. But really what I think is going to happen here is you're going to have either Ian Gary or Shavkat, most likely Shavkat in my opinion, going up, challenging Bilal. Shavkat gets the belt. Bilal drops down to 1. Leon drops down. Everybody shifts down 1. And from there, you're going to have a lot of these other guys that are in the lower rankings getting some pretty big leaps, I would say. I would say a guy like Michael Morales is probably going to end up fighting probably around the number 8 spot, if not closer into the 6-4 range. You know what I mean? That would be my suspicion. Because I think that they really want these guys to, I think they want some of these newer dudes to get, because even at this point, it's not even hot shotting. You know what I mean? They've put in their time. They've earned the spots. So if you have a Carlos Prates going up against a Jack Della Maddalena, I don't think that that's too bad, especially when the top of the division is going to get tied up after Shavkat and Ian Gary. And then who does Ian Gary fight if he loses? Or who does Shavkat fight if he loses? You know, I mean, there's a lot of different ways to approach it. And I think all of them make a certain amount of sense based on the nature of the division at the moment. So that is my thoughts on that. What else we got going on around the sport? I saw this this little front and center piece here. Dakota Ditcheva, Bellator / PFL. She's a PFL fighter. She's on that side of the equation. She's saying that fighters are getting angry at her rise to stardom and that there's jealousy there. I mean, why would anybody be getting mad at her rise to stardom, though? She's fucking 13-0. Yeah, I mean, what are you mad at? You mad at her just being good? If you're mad at her being good and not being in the UFC, I mean, Kayla just came over from PFL. Maybe she'll do the same. She's cutting her teeth. But I saw one of her fights, and she was very good. I enjoy watching her fight, so. She says there is definitely a little bit of jealousy, I think, and a bit of frustration from a few fighters. I get it. Like you said, it's a business. We all have to be able to sell these fights in order to get paid. If you want to get paid, do something, make your fights exciting, or get on social media and make an effort. Yeah, she's not wrong. You have to. The people were mad at these fights, certain fighters making money, but if you look at the ones making money, it's the personalities in the sport. I think she's completely correct about all of this. Or the fighters that are doing something different. Yeah. I think that Dakota Ditcheva is speaking truth right now. I don't know why anybody is getting frustrated just with me, because I'm just like getting what I can out of my years in the sport, and I feel like that would be the clever thing to do. She's completely right. Yeah, I don't know why anybody would be talking shit about Dakota Ditcheva. She's winning her fights. She's doing great. She is very talented, and we'll see what she can do continuing on. I mean, she's only 25. Like, she's got plenty of time in the sport left. She's also from England. Obviously, a big contingency of fans in England. They want more homegrown stars. Have her come over and teach Molly McCann a thing or two. She's fighting flyweight. I think Molly fights... What does Molly fight at? Does she fight at flyweight too? She fights at strawweight. Yeah, I was gonna say. I thought that she fought at a different weight class. Well, maybe she will change weights to go over there and fight Molly McCann. England versus England. That could make sense. Yeah, I don't think anybody should be mad at Dakota Ditcheva. What the hell are you mad at? New Merab video just dropped, everybody. Merab Dvalishvili tells Umar Nurmagomedov to earn his title shot like the rest of us in a new skit. Except he did earn his title shot. He earned it by beating the number 2 guy in the world. What are you talking about, Merab? I often have said when it comes to Merab, I like Merab. I think he's a good guy, and I think he's a great fighter. I think he's going to be extremely hard for anybody to beat. I think he's going to be a very dominant champion in this weight class. I also think that he is a little bit stupid. But, not everybody can be Einstein. Not everybody can be beloved by the fighting nerds.
Hello everyone, Professor Dvalishvili is back to teach you another important lesson. So we have Merab. Wow, what a handsome guy.
God, look at this editing, dude. This dude went to like the fucking Gen Alpha school of Instagram Reels editing.
Champion. He has 11 fight win streak and has beat 4, yes, I said 4 ranked and still active former UFC champions. Jose Aldo, Peter Yan, Henry Cejudo, and Sean O'Malley. Then we have former champion Peter Yan, who has beat top-ranked opponents. Davison Figueiredo, Song Gidong, I can even give him Sean O'Malley.
Whatever, dude.
Cory Sanhagen, and King of Rio, Jose Aldo.
All right. I mean, look, he might be spitting some facts here, though. He might be speaking some truth. I mean, if this is the way that he's framing it, though, I had to talk a little shit coming into it, but that's not incorrect.
Last and certainly least, we have Umar. And he has beat who? 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 And who? No one but gifted Sanhagen.
Bruh.
How? Okay, well, wait a second here. Hold your horses there, Merab. How exactly do you say that he was gifted that win? What does that mean? How are you quantifying that? Maybe he'll say so in a second here. You're late as hell. The issue with Restream not updating the title is annoying. Did it not get updated again? Oh, shit. My bad. That's fucking weird, dude. I updated it with within the thing. Damn. Well, that's annoying as fuck. Sorry about that. Glad everybody still stopped by. Thanks for letting me know. I mean, there's not really much I can do about it now. Fuck, that's annoying as fuck, dude. Yeah, that's really annoying. There's a little inside baseball for you, folks. Go to Restream. This service that has been a fucking pain in my ass for the entire time. Yeah, I mean, this is what it says on there. And it still didn't go out right? Or are you talking about for you? Did it go out right for me and not for you guys? I don't know. Yeah, no, you're right. It did not update on there. Fucking bullshit, man. Fucking bullshit. I updated it as was supposed to do. That is annoying as fuck. Yeah, that's really annoying. Because obviously if it was like correct from the Macau one, then that's because I had updated it for that. And it updated fine there. But, oh well, is what it is. Anyway, let's finish up with Merab here.
Also, reminder guys.
No, thanks for letting me know though.
I was backup fighter for O'Malley versus Vera. And when UFC asked Umar to be backup fighter for me and O'Malley, he said no. I mean, this guy wants title shot served to his bed like a breakfast. Biggest lesson here. Umar, get to work. You're not my level. Earn your title shot like rest of us, whose last names don't get gifts.
I mean, oh, okay. So his point was that he was gifted the shot against Cory Sanhagen just because of who he was. Okay, all right. You know, I've got to say, I was skeptical of all of Merab and his points here, but I think he is speaking some truth in that as well. However, he still won the fight, though. So whether or not it was gifted or not, whether or not he's being hot-shotted, he still won. So it ain't what it ain't, and it is what it is.
Class dismissed.
Class dismissed. So, what do we take away from all of that? I mean, he's saying he doesn't want to fight Umar because he wants to fight Petr Yan, or that he thinks Petr Yan deserves it more? I mean, you can interpret that two ways, I guess. You can interpret it as, yeah, all of what he says is true, so Yan, in reality, probably does deserve it more. Or you can look at it like, maybe he thinks that Umar has the skill set that could actually be dangerous to him. And in fact, I would say, I think that of all of the fighters that are in this picture right now, Umar probably does have the most dangerous skill set to actually defeat him. Because I thought that Cory Sanhagen was the only guy that was going to be able to defeat Umar based on his skill set. So, I don't know. I don't know indeed. I mean, maybe it could cut either way. But, I mean, I don't think that Merab is scared of anybody, really. I mean, he's a pretty confident guy. So I think that he's probably just saying that Petr Yan is more deserving, but of course he don't make that call. Merab does not have sway over the UFC power. You know what I mean? But I mean, he's not wrong. Like I'm saying, he's not wrong in anything that he said, though. And again, whether or not Umar was gifted the shot, he still won. So, gifted the fight against Corey Sandhagen. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if it was gifted or not. If he had lost, it'd be a different story. Duck emoji. Every contender has proved nothing to these modern day champs. Yeah, that's a good point. All of these guys out here saying that this other guy has done more. This other guy deserves it more. This other guy is somebody that I actually think is worthy. You are not. I mean, it's unfortunate in that regard for these guys, but at the same time, go out there and rack up some wins elsewhere. I mean, that is, it's because the organization are the ones that make the decision about it. So it's like, if they don't end up wanting to make the fight, then yeah, you just keep going out and racking up wins. You're creating your legacy one way or another. Of course, every fight is a potential loss, so that could set you back. But I'm not mad at the hot-shotting when it goes right. Worked out with Sean O'Malley for a while there. It worked out so well with Sean O'Malley that they gifted him the fight with Chito Vera, the rematch. The vanity fight. That was the vanity fight before the vanity fight. He got his vanity fight before John Jones got his vanity fight against Stipe. So yeah, I guess we're going to have to wait and see about some fight announcements there when it comes to that division, because it's probably going to be due, right? I mean, going back to the rankings real quick. Oh, up. Yeah, I mean, that fight, well, so yeah, I mean, I don't know if I guess it'll probably have a couple months before Merab defends, but maybe not too many. I would think that would probably be a good fight to have as like the co-main for another title fight, do a 2 title fight card. But yeah, we're going back to Noche with that. So that's a couple months ago now, right? 2 months ago. So, yeah, I mean, I would think that we're going to get some fight announcements in that division coming up early next year. I would think. First quarter. Leon made you realize, tried to slight Bilal and just got dominated. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we were talking all about all about welterweight before you came on. There's a whole lot going on in that division. When we talk about on the podcast, bantamweight and flyweight being so competitive, I think welterweight is next up to be extremely competitive. Merab showing signs of that being a possibility. I mean, honestly, I think the only person that really might show smacks of that would be if he does end up fighting Umar. I think Umar is the only skill set that really gives Merab a serious problem, especially based on the O'Malley fight and all of his fights before that, where he just runs through these guys and no one has an answer for the way that he fights. I think he would do the same to Corey Sandhagen that Umar did. I think that he'd be able to do pretty much the same against Figueiredo. Chito Vera, I have no idea how he's even still top 10, really. I think that he's probably... Chito's probably going to end up being a bit of a gatekeeper, in my opinion. Henry Cejudo might be one that could give a little bit of a challenge there, but at the same time, Henry is kind of out of his prime at this point. I think that his time is sort of past. And then you go down the rankings after that. I don't think any of these guys past that are really a super crazy challenge for Merab or Umar. So as far as like who's going to be the dominant champion of the division, I would say that Umar and Merab is the fight to make, personally, the way that I'm looking at it. But we'll see what the organization wants. Maybe they want to do Petr Yan one more time with him, because after the way that Yan fought last weekend, I mean, he made a fucking compelling case. He made a case and a half for himself there. So I think there's a lot of potential in that. But we know that there are killers on the come up, man. How is Ayman Sahabi still ranked, man? 13th? That's wild. These new bantamweights are going to start really cropping up soon. Oops. All right, what else? Stay on for a little while longer. Appreciate everybody who's been hanging out. Thanks, and sorry about the stream title. I'll go back and change that after this. I wonder if did it change for Twitch and all that shit. Let's see here. Nope, didn't change for Twitch either. Fucking restream, bro. Restream on that shit. I think I know why. I think I know what I have to do, but either way, it still shouldn't matter. I mean, fucking dumb. Oh yeah, Gable Stevenson thinking that he's going to come over to MMA. That could be pretty interesting. Of course, Gable Stevenson is a highly decorated wrestler. Yeah, I guess he went over to WWE for a little while. I didn't realize he played football there. He played football for the Bills during the preseason. But yeah, what was his record in wrestling? I guess they don't say it here. Yeah, he was on a tear, at least as a college wrestler, Gable Stevenson. As I put the gloves on, I really like the feeling of going out there and mixing everything together, from wrestling to boxing to kickboxing to jiu-jitsu, and putting all the pieces together in one. That definitely puts a huge spark in me to do MMA too. Wherever the path leads me after this wrestling season is going to be great regardless, but the MMA thing, when I tell you, it definitely lit a fire under me. Being in that camp definitely put a big gaslight and lit it really hard and burned the fumes in me. Okay. Well, I guess we'll see what ends up happening with Gable Stevenson as well. Yeah, what was his record, though? This guy was, like, ridiculously good, from what I understand. Why do they just not have his fucking record? What, like, ay. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 losses out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, yeah. Okay. 40-6. Derp. So, pretty goddamn good. That a dude from Uzbekistan? All right, he's got 1 loss to an Uzbek. 2 to Nick Gwiazdowski? Guyadowski, maybe? He's a freestyle wrestler as well. 2-time NCAA Division I national champion. What's he doing now? Maybe Nick Gwiazdowski is coming over at some point, perhaps. I guess he's still wrestling as recently as 2022, but where after that is he still wrestling now? Oh. I don't know. I don't know why they don't have the record here. Somebody needs to update Wikipedia for Nick Gwiazdowski. Anyway, Gable Stevenson. That would be interesting to see him come over if he decides that he wants to. Anything else interesting here that we need to go over before I call it an evening? Before this, our day of giving thanks. 310 loses a fight days before the pay-per-view card. What fight dropped out? Oh, yeah, I think I did hear about this. Martin Budai versus Rizvan Kuniev. Got scrapped. That's all right. I don't think anybody was clamoring to see Martin Budai do his thing again. Good fights on it, though. So we'll run this down real quick before we call it a night here. Lucas Bresky versus Kennedy Nchezuku opening the card shows you how good that this card is. Because Kennedy Nchezuku looked fantastic in his last fight. And Lucas Bresky, he's okay. I think Kennedy's going to get a good win there. Clay Guida versus Chase Hooper, can't wait. Clay Guida, my favorite fighter of all time. Second only to Max really now, but Clay was always the fighter that I went to whenever anybody asked me my favorite fighter for the longest time. It was definitely Clay Guida. But I do think Chase Hooper is coming into his final form, and I think he's definitely going to get that one. Michael Chiesa versus Max Griffin. I think that's an okay fight. See if Chiesa still has the ability to get the sub. I think Griffin might be able to overpower him. Depends on how early Griffin starts getting his game plan going. If it goes into later rounds, I would give it to Chiesa. I'll tentatively give it to Chiesa. No, I take it back. I tentatively will give it to Max Griffin, but with a slight caveat that Chiesa could take it later on in the fight. Cody Durden versus Josh Van, two of the darlings of the Discord, as I would say. Josh Van, I think, will take that fight pretty easily, unless Cody Durden can snatch that neck. Chris Weidman versus Eric Anders, rebooked from 309, right? I think that Eric Anders hopefully will take that fight. As I said, I think he was battling some addiction issues, but am I correct about that? Yeah, it was Eric Anders. Okay, cool. I wanted to make sure because I had said that on Fight Show, and I was like, I am right that it was Eric Anders, right? It's like, okay, cool. I was correct about that, thankfully. But yeah, I was just partying, drinking, doing party drugs, Molly, acid, ecstasy, you name it. Man, bro is going ham bone. I wasn't under a bridge with a needle in my arm, smoking crack or nothing like that. I was just out all night doing all that stuff, just drinking, smoking, doing all that stuff. Okay. So yeah, I mean, he was doing pretty much conventional partying, I would say. So he's gotten himself cleaned up. Good for him. And I think a clean and sober Eric Anders should be able to beat Chris Weidman. And as my good buddy Chase Parton once said, go for the leg. Of course, we talked about Randy Brown versus Brian Battle. Riding with Brian Battle on that one. Movsar versus Aljamain Sterling. Not even the fucking... Not even the featured prelim. Not even the featured prelim. That is so wild. If this card is in order, I don't know. Maybe they slotted them in a little bit higher after the outcry. But I'm gonna go with Movsar on that one. I know that Aljo is very talented, of course, former champion, all that. But Movsar he's the real deal. You know, he's got all the elements that you need. And I think that Aljo might have the sun setting on his time as great, in the conversation. So we'll see what happens. Vicente Luque versus Themba Gorimbo. Themba should take that one pretty easily as well. I mean, if Vicente Luque was just about to be fighting Nick Diaz, I think that speaks decent volumes there. So Themba takes that one. Dominic Reyes versus Anthony Smith. Love this fight. I want to go for Dominic Reyes, but this is yet again Anthony Smith fights, man. This could be the one where he just somehow pulls it off, even after Reyes finally got a win back. You know, looking good, but can he remain looking good? So, I like that fight, though. because I think that really, one way or another, it should probably be the nail in the coffin for either one of those guys. Whoever loses that fight is probably going to be on the outs. They might not get cut, but like they will definitely, I mean, it would only take a fight after that for either of them to get cut. Although, I mean, Smith is he like in retirement range at some point? For fuck's sake. I would feel like that guy is like coming around the time that he might want to think about retiring. But either way, I like that fight though. Nate Landwehr versus Doo Ho Choi. I got to go with Doo Ho Choi, man. I just off of veteran status. But Nate will probably win that fight though. I'm riding with Doo Ho Choi either way though. Who's the favorite in that fight? Curious what Vegas has to say about this. Of course, we'll go over all of this on the podcast, but yeah, Nate's the favorite. Yeah, I think that Nate will probably win that one, but I am still rocking with Doo Ho Choi. Going with the dog. Bryce Mitchell versus Kron Gracie. That is a clear Bryce by murder situation, I would suspect, unless Kron Gracie has gotten a lot better in his time off. But he fights very infrequently, and when he does fight, it sucks. Cyril Gane versus Alexander Volkov. I think that Volkov comes back and changes the tides. I know he lost their last fight. Minus 333 for Dom Reyes in 2024 is nuts. Yo, Toby, no lie. I agree with you entirely. That is pretty fucking wild. That is the exact type of fight where Anthony Smith will pull off the upset. You count out Anthony Smith every time, and Anthony Smith occasionally proves everybody wrong. So, yeah, I could see that being the case. Him pulling off a crazy upset on that one. Considering that Reyes was coming off of like a fucking 7-fight losing streak or something? His losing streak was ridiculous. Okay, not 7, but 4-fight losing streak. Come on. And he finally gets a win over Dustin Jacoby. Granted, it was a nice one. I mean, he finished in the first round, but still. Come on. He's 1-4 in his last 5 and is a minus 333. That's pretty wild. And of course, Shavkat versus Ian Gary. I'm riding with Shavkat all the way. And Pantoja versus Asakura. I gotta watch that. Sarah from Fight Show never sent me over that clip she did. Apparently, Sarah Toby from Fight Show, another Toby, she did a full-on video breakdown about Kai Asakura's career in Rizin, which I would like to see because I don't know too much about him. Rizin has been a little bit of a blind spot because they only broadcast really over on that side of the world, and if they're not broadcasting just to that side of the world, you either have to know Japanese or have a really good translator to navigate their website because all their stuff is in Japanese. How in this day and age with the makeup of the sport they are not doing stuff in English is kind of wild to me. They'd have a lot more of a fan base if they had English options. Because, right, I mean, like, oh, well, I mean, I stand corrected then. I mean, they on their, at least on their Instagram, it's all in Japanese. Well, shit. I take it back. I guess I got to keep an eye out for the next Rizin pay-per-view. They just do them infrequently. September, July, June. I mean, I guess maybe not super infrequently, but, you know, it's not like they're not doing them all the time. February to March, April, June, July, September. You think Shavkat wins, but a minus 400 against an undefeated fighter is nuts too? I don't think so when it comes to that fight, man. I think that Shavkat has proven that he is of the caliber. I mean, if you line up the fight styles, like the methods of victory and the decisiveness of victory, I think that he has well proven himself to be stars and bars above Ian Gary personally. I mean, you're not wrong. Ian Gary, of course, is undefeated, so what you're saying is not like completely crazy, but at the same time, I think that minus 400 is probably about correct. I actually think that it's exactly correct. So when is the next Ryzen? Wait, what? Is there a Ryzen event going on right now?
Welcome inside the beautiful Port Messe in Nagoya, Japan.
Oh, no, okay, this is a replay. All right. That's cool that they put their entire events on there, though. Shit, dude. I don't know. Is Ryzen going to be crazy about the copyright shit? Maybe we can, maybe I'll do a watch-along. I'd be watching Ryzen. When was this? Ryzen Landmark 10? Did it say? Oh, they have a New Year's Eve event. And this was earlier this month. This was the 17th of this month, I guess. Okay. Shit, dude. Honestly, I might just hang out and watch this Ryzen event on New Year's Eve. I'm not a New Year's Eve person. I'm not going to go out. I don't like to party on New Year's Eve or really go out at all. I mean, if there's like a party or something like with people I know, I might do it. But if not, I very well might just come and hang out and watch this Ryzen event. We'll see. All right. Well, I think that that'll about do it for tonight. Just wanted to pop on, say hello to everybody, considering that I don't really have any videos lined up specifically for this week, but I am probably going to spend tomorrow, since I'm not really doing too much for Thanksgiving. I think I'm going to probably try to work on getting that Nick Diaz video out. So keep an eye out for that either tomorrow or the next day, maybe, you know, depending on what I want to do for it. I might have to put a little preamble and postamble in there, you know, whatever they, you know, an epilogue and a prologue in there, the same way that I did with the Rose video. But I do think that the stuff that me and Chase uncovered on the stream that we did together was pretty interesting. So keep an eye out for that. And yeah, either way, Monday, I think that we're going to be doing something probably. I might be on for the PFL event, maybe. But if I'm not, Monday, we have a show on this channel called Last Week's Fights. Myself and Chase Parton will be breaking down all of the fights from 310. It's a next week's fights this coming week. So since we do not have fights this weekend, we will be giving our predictions on this, talking about any other MMA news of the day that we need to go over. There's always something to talk about. So that show starts at 9 o'clock. If it does not start at 9, it will start later than 9, and I will let you know about the start times on Twitter and Instagram at Yama Show. Make sure that you are subscribed if you are new. If you are still rocking with me, I appreciate you. Shout out to Anakin, to Chase, Creative Player, Toby, Deadly Pube, my guy, Checkmate, Sarah Toby, that whole crew. Appreciate all you, Beeb. Everybody that stopped in today, I appreciate it. Good to check in with you before the holiday. Make sure that you like this stream as well. Hopefully next time the fucking title will be correct, but who knows? It's restream. You never know. Either way, have a great rest of your night. Enjoy your holiday if you are celebrating in the United States, and I will catch up with you soon, everybody. Fight on.
It's